Listen up, folks, because today we're diving into the world of gesture drawing. And trust me, it's a must-have skill for any artist looking to make decent work. Alright, let's start by defining what gesture drawing is. Gesture drawing is the art of capturing the essence, movement, and overall attitude of a subject in a quick and fluid manner. It's like the skeleton of a drawing, the foundation upon which you build the rest of your masterpiece. It's crucial for artists because it helps you understand the flow and energy of the subjects. And it's a great way to warm up and loosen up before diving into more detailed work. Alright, so you can see my workspace by the bottom right. I have my references. For this gesture drawing study, what I do is I just go on Pinterest and I look for like 10 different really dynamic poses that I can reference. Now, there are a few key ways to capture a gesture accurately, and we're going to break them down using straight lines, S-curves, and C-curves. These are the building blocks of gesture drawing, and they'll help you create dynamic and expressive drawings that really capture the essence of your subject. First up, we've got straight lines. Straight lines are great for conveying a sense of stability and structure. They're like the backbone of your drawing. When you're using straight lines in your gesture drawings, think about the major angles and directions of your subject's body parts. Look for the most prominent lines and use them to create a simplified version of the pose. Next up, we've got S-curves. S-curves are all about fluidity and grace. They're perfect for capturing the natural flow and rhythm of a subject's body. When you're using S-curves in your gesture drawings, try to find the continuous line that runs through the entire pose. This line, often called a line of action, will help you create a sense of movement and unity in your drawing. Finally, we've got C-curves. C-curves are like the happy medium between straight lines and S-curves. They are great for capturing the subtle bends and curves of a subject's body. When you're using C-curves in your gesture drawings, pay attention to the way the body's forms curve and twist around each other. Look for the natural arcs and use them to create a sense of depth and dimension in your drawing. Now that we've covered the basics, let's dive a little deeper into the world of gesture. One important aspect of gesture drawing is the concept of force, which is about capturing the energy and tension in the pose. When you're drawing gestures, think about the forces at play in your subject's body. Look for areas of compression and tension, where there are twists and turns, and use your lines to emphasize these forces. Sometimes it helps by thinking of the torso as a pillow. That will just make it a bit easier to know what curves to draw, where to place them, and in which direction. Another key aspect of gesture drawing is the idea of rhythm. Rhythm is all about creating a sense of flow and harmony in your drawing. When you're drawing gestures, try to find the natural rhythms of the subject's body. Look for repeating patterns and shapes and use your lines to create a sense of continuity and connection between the different parts of the body. And now for this one, you can see that major line of action there, that straight line going from his right heel up to his head. So it's just like a straight line. So I just start from that, establish the pose, and then just build off and go from there. So you just try to think of the major line of action on the particular pose you're trying to draw. And then of course, can also use some cylinders just to help you understand the direction of the forms. Like his arm there, look at how I'm showing the foreshortening by using cylinders. It's just help you understand the direction in which the forms are twisting. And then again with this one, you just start by establishing the position of the head. Look at how that form is overlapping there. Just think of like, it just helps you understand how the body is turning. Look at that point there as his hip. It just shows you, you can imagine like a pillow. When you twist a pillow, you know how those lines form. So you just need to understand where to keep the T-junctions and which line is overlapping which line. And that alone is enough to help you establish the twists and turns of the body. And this is where just one-to-one studies in general can be really helpful. Like I can't imagine, I've seen somewhere where someone says they trace other artists or like they trace references to learn or to study how a character is. Honestly, I don't know if that works, but I personally don't think you can learn anything by tracing a reference, because your brain is really not working. You're just tracing lines. I don't know if that makes sense, but like you're just tracing. You're not really learning anything. But like when you look and reference something, and you just try to, when you're doing one-to-one studies without tracing, your brain is forced to work. You're thinking about like the proportions and everything. So that way you're really learning. But when you trace, I don't think you can really learn anything from tracing. And then look at this particular one here. You can just see how I just use these straight lines to establish the proportions and the way the body is moving. So you can see the torso, you can see that line of action I just used there. And then I'm just building off from there using simple cylinders. You can see the improvements even in this video alone, even in this study session alone. You can compare the first gesture I did of that tennis player and this one. Like you can already see the improvements. So you just think of the particular, depending on the particular pose you're drawing, you could decide to, like in this one, I'm not even starting with the arms, right? I just drew the head, the shoulder, and then I went straight to the hip, right? So it depends on what subject you're drawing, right? You just have to think about like what are the most important forms, right? So here, the most important are the shoulders and the hip. You need to establish those positions and then build up from there. And doing this kind of study just helps you expand your visual library when it comes to figures and poses. And then this is the final one. You can just look at that as well. Same thing, just look at that long C curve I did there. Look at all these long, simple curves I did. It just helps you understand the way the body is, turning. The less lines you use, the better. You can see how I'm just building up from those simple lines underneath. And then using simple shapes to, flesh out the forms more. Now let's talk about some practical tips for improving your gesture drawing skills. First and foremost, practice. Gesture drawing is all about training your eye and your hands to work together. And the more you practice, the better you get. Try setting aside some time each day to do quick gesture drawings from live or from reference photos. The key is to keep it loose and fast, so don't worry about making perfect drawings. Just focus on capturing the essence of the pose. Another great tip for improving your gesture drawing skills is to vary your approach. Experiment with different types of lines, different levels of detail, and different time limits. This will help you develop a more versatile and adaptable drawing style, and it will keep things fresh and interesting. The reason I say this is that when I just started out with learning gesture drawing, I used to be so confused because I was already used to drawing with cylinders and spheres as opposed to simple lines and curves. But later on, I realized that it doesn't even matter. All that matters is capturing the pose. And if adding a subtle cylinder here and there will help you understand the perspective of the subject you're drawing, then go for it. Typically, more complex shapes will still help you build out the forms of your subjects after you have the pose ready. But as long as it helps you nail the gesture in the first place, then no problem. The important thing to note is to not use too many solid shapes, as you want to maintain that fluidity at this stage of your drawing. Finally, don't be afraid to make mistakes. Gesture drawing is all about taking risks and pushing the boundaries, testing the waters by exaggerating certain stretches or pulls or curves. It's a somewhat experimental process, so don't worry if your drawings don't turn out exactly the way you want them to. The important thing is to learn from your mistakes and keep pushing yourself to improve. Alright guys, that's it for today's lesson on gesture drawing. Remember, practice makes improvements. So get out of bed and start drawing some gesture. And don't forget to check out Michael Hampton's figure drawing and invention for more detailed tips and info on gesture drawing. As always, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let us know in the comments if this was helpful. See you guys in the next one.